In the previous episode, the start of the biggest war in history between Kaiju and mankind. Kaiju number 9, who is the mastermind behind the disaster this time, has created his own army to exterminate all humanity in Japan. But the defense forces have also gathered their combat power to face the Kaiju number 9 disaster. Of course, they will not remain silent and will fight to the end to win this war. Well, what is it like? Keep watching this video until the end. The story continues with Kokoro preparing to leave for the battlefield in his combat suit. After checking the electric power and magnetic field is declared stable, Kokoro immediately launches with a capsule at very high speed to head to the battle location. When the target destination is in sight and Kokoro has separated from the capsule, Kokoro immediately activates the shield and takes out the wings of Kaiju weapon number 4 to fly at high speed. Seeing this suddenly made all the teams in the strategy room feel very amazed at Kokoro's current abilities. She would definitely reach the extermination site in an instant. Kaiju said, "Kaiju weapon number 4 is the defense force's fastest weapon and the only one that can fly. Even because of that weapon, Hikari has the most number of exterminations than any other captain in history." Here we see one of the squads fighting against a Kaiju that has a power scale above 7.0. Meanwhile, the squad leader has just ordered his members to stop shooting and evacuate the area immediately because a Kokoro is coming. At that moment, Kokoro immediately defeated the Kaiju with just one attack, making all the members who saw it very surprised while saying, "So this is Kokoro Shinomiya, the successor to Commander Shiomiya." On the other hand, Narumi, who at that time also knew that Kokoro had arrived there, then said to Kokoro, "You have 10 minutes to secure the area, my stupid student." Then Kokoro replied, "I only need 5 minutes, my troublesome mentor." Just when all the troops had just been ordered to start the second stage and were about to move to protect Kokoro, everyone was again surprised by a swift attack from Kokoro that managed to partially split the enemy's body. The squad leader, who realized that protecting Kokoro with explosive bullets would only upset Kokoro, ordered all units to replace their bullets with freezing bullets and focus on blocking the movement of enemy targets. So it didn't take long for one soldier to freeze the legs of another Kaiju. Kokoro quickly launched a brutal attack on the Kaiju, which was then followed by jumping to the side of another Kaiju to behead him, while destroying his entire body. Seeing this incident suddenly made the squad leader very surprised and said again, "Reinforcements can't keep up. It feels like seeing the real Commander Shinomiya." Then Keiji said, "She has his father's strength and his mother's agility. Earlier I said she was similar to Hikari, but it seems I was wrong, Isao. It turns out he is similar to you too." Akira reported, "Currently the Kokoro Shinomiya troops managed to destroy 3 targets, so the battle conditions in the Parliament building area are under control." Meanwhile, when Hasegawa asks about the situation at Chofu Airport, Mina replies, "I have implemented a plan to deal with it." The scene changed to show a helicopter over the Chofu landing area. The Okaneji reported, "The merging of structures has been completed. Kaiju muscle fibers and uni-organs are functioning normally. Vital signs are stable and ready to be synchronized." It turns out that Mina meant Hoshina. Hoshina, who at that time had begun to activate Kaiju weapon number 10. Kaiju number 10 then said, "Finally this day has come. Now let me rampage Hoshina." Then Hoshina replied, "Didn't I say that I am in control? So you better shut up and let me use you." Hoshina suddenly became angry at Okaneji, who even made a combat suit that could talk like this, especially since Kaiju number 10 was very noisy. Okaneji explained that because this was the first Kaiju weapon that had consciousness, as a result the process of synchronizing the nervous system was difficult, so the synchronization of consciousness had to be assisted by sound. Plus, because this was a prototype weapon, honestly this numbered weapon was still too fast to be used in real combat. Hearing that, Hoshina actually also knew that Kaiju number 10's weapon was still not suitable for use. But because there was no other choice, then they still had to bet like this if they wanted to surpass Kaiju number 9's prediction. Meanwhile, when Kaiju number 10 said, "It turns out you're interesting, Hoshina." Then Hoshina, who heard it, then replied, "Interesting what? The fact is that during our training we have never once succeeded in doing a full release. Because you move here and there, our minds become scattered and difficult to harmonize. So obey my orders, as long as you know that if we fail again today then I will die, and it is certain that you will also perish." Although Kaiju number 10 replied that he understood, Kaiju number 10 instead perforated the floor of the helicopter so that they could jump into battle quickly. This made Hoshina upset again because this kaiju turned out to be completely ignorant, even though Okaneji had warned that they had not given a plan for this mission. Kaiju number 10 thought it was more exciting without a plan. Here we can also see Hoshina, who has landed, until the ground at the airport is destroyed, because the landing site is in an area full of enemies. Suddenly this makes Okaneji and his colleagues look very panicked, because the weapon is still too fast to be used in real combat. Hoshina said to Kaiju number 10, "I'll postpone my anger for later. Now let me show you who's in charge among us. Let's get started." But unexpectedly, just as he was planning to fight the enemy on the left side because there were fewer of them, Kaiju number 10 moved to the right at will, causing Hoshina's body to get stuck and almost get hit by the enemy's attack. An annoyed Hoshina then asked Kaiju number 10, "Why did you move there when attacking the weak side first is basic logic?" Kaiju number 10 replied, "That's boring. We better attack the right side, which has stronger defenses." Suddenly Hoshina was surprised again by a kaiju preparing to attack him from behind. Hoshina and Kaiju number 10 sneak up behind the enemy through the gap between its legs and slash at it. But because Kaiju number 10 wants to see how much strength the enemy has by facing it directly. Unfortunately, Hoshina instead had to be hit by a crushing attack from the enemy, and even he was also surrounded by several other kaiju who were preparing to attack him. Of course, the incident made Hoshina very troubled because his movements were not in line with Kaiju number 10. Even Hoshina had asked Kaiju number 10, "How is this? Now we are surrounded." Kaiju number 10 even seemed to enjoy the situation, because for him a situation like this was very exciting. While Okaneji, who panicked when she saw their movements out of sync, even his nerve synchronization was also not working, so that the release of his combat power dropped from 51% to 41%. Okaneji immediately suggested to Hoshina to temporarily retreat. Then he could return to the battlefield again after changing equipment into ordinary combat clothes. But according to Hoshina, the opponent's movements were so agile that he would not be able to escape if surrounded in such large numbers. Then Hoshina still forced himself to continue the fight and tried to synchronize again. But unfortunately, it turned out that Hoshina's combat power release fell back to 34%, and if it fell more than that, then Hoshina would not be able to withstand the attacks of the kaiju. Realizing that, Hoshina once again tried to ask Kaiju number 10 to comply because this was their last chance. Hoshina said, "First we will take cover behind the plane there, then finish them off one by one." But Kaiju number 10 did not allow Hoshina to run because he wanted to face all the kaiju from the front. Unfortunately, Hoshina was again caught in an unfavorable situation. Because from behind him there was already a kaiju who jumped while carrying an airplane to hit Hoshina very brutally. Seeing that incident, suddenly Okaneji became very worried about Hoshina's condition. But after they saw the life sign from Kaiju number 10 still detected, it turned out that Hoshina was still fine. Then Kaiju number 10 said to Hoshina, "Thank goodness you survived the crushing blow earlier, because I hardened your body. My ability to make decisions has saved us." Hoshina, who heard this of course, became even more upset. Because if only he had obeyed Hoshina's orders from the beginning, they would not be stuck in a difficult situation like this. But after Hoshina realized that his decision to ask Kaiju number 10 for help might have been a mistake, Hoshina even wondered why he always stuck with people who remained stubborn even when faced with death. Even so, Hoshina finally relented and said, "Listen to me carefully, number 10. Your inability to obey orders is a very fatal weakness for a weapon. If this continues, the higher-ups will definitely order that you be destroyed. But since I can't die here, then this time I will follow you." Then Kaiju number 10 replied, "It should be like that." Then Hoshina said again, "We face them from the front and stay with me until death." In the end, they managed to synchronize to make their combat power release increase to a value of 56%. This is the highest value ever achieved when using Kaiju number 10's weapon. Here it is also seen that Hoshina began to launch him attacks on the leading Kaiju until he split him body. Then Hoshina also faced 2 Kaiju at once according to number 10's wishes, although the situation was unfavorable. But if Hoshina could enjoy the fight, then Kaiju number 10 was very confident that they could still win. Kaiju number 10 again directed Hoshina by saying, "Finish them all from the front. Finish, finish, finish. This is how a fight should be. Let me rage even more wildly. Slash them all without leaving a single one." But without realizing it, Kaiju number 10 was surprised to see Hoshina, who kept him weapon even though Kaiju number 10 wanted to rampage. Hoshina said, "It's too late, Kaiju number 10. It turned out that all Kaiju had been successfully subverted by Hoshina. Hoshina then moved quickly again to finish off the Kaiju on the runway. He jumped from the floor of the building there while increasing his power release to 67%. Hoshina immediately launched him attack on the Kaiju in front of him, which was then followed by cutting the Kaiju into 4 parts using the second Hoshina flow sword technique, cross slash. When Kaiju number 10 said, "His movements are very fast." Then there were 2 Kaiju ready to attack Hoshina. With a dismissive look, Hoshina challenged Kaiju number 10 to show him that he could parry their attacks. Hearing this, of course, Kaiju number 10 immediately accepted Hoshina's challenge, because that was what he wanted. Even though he managed to deflect the attacks of the 2 Kaiju using his tail, it turned out that according to Hoshina, it was still not good because the Kaiju splinters hit Hoshina. Okaneji was very panicked because Hoshina even said that to Kaiju number 10, especially if Hoshina made him angry, it could be that their synchronization would fail. But unexpectedly, when Kaiju number 10 actually became angry after hearing Hoshina's words, it turned out that the release of its combat power actually increased again to reach a value that exceeded 70%, making Okaneji very surprised and also confused. Kaiju number 10 again said, "Just so you know, the splinters fell because you couldn't release all of my power." Hoshina replied, "So what you're saying is that you couldn't parry their attacks perfectly, even though you released more than 60% of your power. You're not as strong as I thought." Hoshina's words further provoked Kaiju number 10's emotions, so that he immediately invited Hoshina to find the next opponent to prove his true abilities. Seeing that, Okaneji increasingly did not understand the situation, even though they were arguing, but their combat power release value was increasing. When they found the black Kaiju that they thought was the leader, Hoshina started to get serious again and said, "Let's attack them from the front. Show me that you can fend off all their attacks, even though my intention was not like this, because the way of fighting that only relies on strength is not my style." After saying that, Hoshina immediately moved to face all the Kaiju in front of him, while continuing to expend him combat power up to 77%. Then using Hoshina's flow sword technique, the first move, Void Slash, quickly Hoshina launched him attack to make the Kaiju shattered into pieces. Then Kaiju number 10 immediately used his tail to overcome enemy attacks coming from behind. Attack after attack continues to be launched by Hoshina and Kaiju number 10 with a great combination. Even when many enemy attacks come from behind to attack Hoshina, Kaiju number 10 immediately parries all these attacks, making Hoshina feel strange, because this is the first time someone has opened the way for him. Here we can also see Hoshina starting to use the 6th move like the one used against Kaiju number 10. Indirectly, Kaiju number 10 can also feel all the muscles in his body like it will be torn apart. Even his energy also feels overflowing all over his body when Hoshina uses the move to launch his lightning slash towards the Kaiju he is fighting.